I was saying earlier on, folks, it'll be an absolute crime not to hear a wee bit of the background regarding the 70s project and also about all the rest of the things which went on in the 1970s. So I'm going to ask Ken and John if you would maybe give us a wee bit of history, if you don't mind. Okay. Can you give us some kind of background into the 70s tribute project?
The project was initiated and it was supposed to play in 2020 because that was the 50th year of the medley competition. Up until 1970, all competitions in Scotland was March, Strathspey and Reel. And medley was a new concept, and they had a third judging discipline, which was ensemble. And we wanted to record the very first one in 1970, which was one by Shots and Dyke. Now, David Caldwell, myself and John got together over a cup of coffee, and we tried to make it work for 2020. It didn't work because of COVID. So 2022, we displayed the first medley at the World Championship, and it was the 70s tribute band. They had a nickname for us. It was the Bus Pass Highlanders. And take a look around, there's none of us in our first flush of youth, but that's how it all started.
That's just the people in the kilts. It stops here. John, what are your memories of the various medley performances from that era?
Oh,
Do you need a mic?
there's many great things from other bands, Red Hackle and such, and they introduced the tenor drum to the fore and the bass drum, the Skyboat Song, and Muirhead and Sons they didn't play a slow air. They played 9 tunes and a slow air. But the first 2/3 of the 70s was all taken over by 2 or 3 bands. And when the Shots came out with Al Zahal, that was the finest medley of all time. There was none before it, obviously. And then this tune that we played there, Glasgow in Hamburg, it was a breath of fresh air again, so we're still holding up the excitement and the newness of medley selection playing. And it's partly due to the choice of tunes and partly due to what Alec Duthard could do with them. And you would hear all the execution that we play there, you would hear all the individual notes, hear them all, because we're not clouding nothing and forsaking detail and clarity for a big, ugly accent. It's not needed. And it gives us a blissful richness in drumming, as you hear there, a dimension that you won't hear in any other style other than Alec Duthard. And I take my hat off to him every time I play of this wonderful legacy that he has left us with.
Brilliant, no doubt. And Kenny, you were saying earlier on there, but 1970 was the first time the ensemble was included. How did the various bands embrace that completely new concept?
As John has mentioned, that there was 5 big bands in the 70s. Shots and Dyke, who won the first World Championship, Edinburgh Police, Glasgow Police, Muirhead and Sons, and Red Haggle. They all had different approaches to it. As John has said, Shots opened up with a 4/4 march, written by an accordion player. And then they worked right through and finished with the reprise of the march, the last 2 parts of the 4/4 march. Edinburgh Police didn't play any slow airs, it was all Strathspey, reel, hornpipe and jig. Reason being that Ian MacLeod, his wife was a dancer, he played for dancers, and that's the way he designed the medley. Red Haggle had a lovely, free, easy way of going about it. Muirhead and Sons, as John said, played 9 tunes, 9 very technical tunes. And Glasgow Police at that time were just about in the mix, but that was the 5 top bands at that stage.
Joel, I'll ask you one more before we finish this part. In your opinion, how has drumming changed in the last 50 years? Go easy now. Before the watershed here, John.
It's changed massively. Now, in the early 70s, the passages were busy, but they weren't continuous. There was breathing spaces for ensemble. And if you listen to what we played there, I'm hitting the interval before the note. That's where you must head, because drummers don't build in the beatings the time it takes to lift and come back down again. And we done this, and we didn't know we were doing it because we were just copying Alec Dufford. And the definitiveness in drumming, roll top separation, very tasty, and that was dynamic. Dynamic can be a swell, up and down. It doesn't need to be a big crash, you know, because we've overused dynamic to a very, very bad degree.
Ladies and gentlemen, phew. We can still, oh, hold on, what, there's more.
No. I just wanted to say that the clarity of note there, group of 4 and a tap, I would never refer to a 5, because the 5th note belongs somewhere else in the group in the bar or the bar. And everybody will forsake them 4 notes just to make this big accent. So the execution is lacking today. Now, they're not as busy, but drumming is more continuous. So they play to, most bands today play to an effect. You know, so you could be a lovely sound and a lovely package, and yet drumming, for me, would be very, very poor. Because if that was piping and execution not coming out, you'd be getting a red card.
Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is these guys and girls will be back in the second half to give us a medley and a couple more tunes. So for the moment, the 70s Tribute Band. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Step.